Entrepreneurship is not new to Birmingham. For years, small businesses have thrived right here in our city. The key is gaining knowledge by using the resources all around. Birmingham is eager to help grow and establish your business. Attending Small Business Week will help you craft your business online, uncover key financial strategies, customer service strategies, and so much more. Birmingham is filled with creative individuals with raw talent. Let's make your vision reality. Small Business Week, Birmingham. Entrepreneurship is not new to Birmingham. For years, small businesses have thrived right here in our city. The key is gaining knowledge by using the resources all around. Birmingham is eager to help grow and establish your business. Attending Small Business Week will help you craft your business online, uncover key financial strategies, customer service strategies, and so much more. Birmingham is filled with creative individuals with raw talent. Let's make your vision reality. Small Business Week, Birmingham. Entrepreneurship is not new to Birmingham. For years, small businesses have thrived right here in our city. The key is gaining knowledge by using the resources all around. Birmingham is eager to help grow and establish your business. Attending Small Business Week will help you craft your business online, uncover key financial strategies, customer service strategies, and so much more. Birmingham is filled with creative individuals with raw talent. Let's make your vision reality. Small Business Week, Birmingham.
Good afternoon, and welcome to day 3 of National Small Business Week, but more importantly, Birmingham Small Business Week. And we are so excited that you are joining us for another day jam-packed of information that we need to help grow our entrepreneurs, our small business owners, and our ecosystem. We're so excited that you're here because this year we are talking all things financial, digital, and customer-centric strategies for growth, okay? We all need strategies for growth, and we are going to deep dive into that today. But before I go any further, I want to thank our sponsors for Small Business Week 2022, ASL Creative Firm, Professional Technology and Design Graphics, and Gilberto Herrera. Thank you so much for supporting our local ecosystem. Okay, y'all. So listen, we're going digital today. We're exploring how to take your customer from browser to buyer. All things e-commerce, winning copyright, and the power of content. So don't play and act like you don't need this, because we all do. We are living in a digital world, all right? And like I said before a couple days ago, we probably all going to be avatars in the metaverse. So we need to know how to function in this digital space. So in a world of innovation, saturation, and emerging technology, digital marketing, storytelling, and tech enabling your business is ideal for sustainability. And e-commerce is how you sell, deliver your products. Marketing is how you bring attention to that brand. Copywriting is the art of persuading people to take action. And we want to make sure that you know how to have a real bond with your consumer. So join us today as we learn how to craft the right message for businesses online, leverage content, and take our customers from browsing to buyers. Okay, so you're like, all right, I heard all of that, but really, what are we going to be doing? We are going to be talking about key strategies on how to market and manage your e-commerce business, the power of content and problem solving, and how to effectively conduct and use market research to write persuasive copy. I'm so excited, y'all. As always, y'all know I'm a girl of notes. I'm gonna have my paper and I'm gonna have my pen. I'm gonna be taking notes for myself as well. But in order to help me have this amazing conversation, I have brought a super team of dope individuals to help us deep dive into this. So if I could have my guests Leslie Pierce, Jordan Hoverter, and Rita Oates, can y'all join me on this stream?
Hey, what's
wave
going
to the
on?
people. Listen, we are so excited to have y'all here. I'm just excited because every day we have had powerhouse panelists, and we are not stopping short today of that. And so thank you guys for joining us. We're excited to hear everything you're going to present. But we are going to jump things off with Rita Oates. She is going to help us to understand copyright and how important that is in building our brands. And so she's going to break down some things. So for me personally, I heard the word copyright. I knew what it was, but I don't think that people understand how important copy is to creating content, right? And so we just making posts. We like, look what I ate today. Please buy my t-shirts, right? But we don't understand how to really talk to our customers online. And so I'm excited for people to hear from you today. So Rita, do your thing. Take it away.
Thank you so much. Hey, everybody. So I have about 15 minutes, so I'm going to fly through this thing. But if you have questions, I can get more into detail right here in the comments. So please engage with me. I'm so excited to get started, and I'm ready for the slideshow. So again, welcome to National Small Business Week 2022, and I'm Rita Oates, and I'll be talking to you guys about winning copywriting. So I'm ready for the next slide, right? So you guys may be wondering, like, who the heck are you? What the heck is copywriting, and what does a copywriter do? Copywriting is simply the process of writing persuasive marketing and promotional materials to motivate people to take action. To motivate people to take action. So if you want them to buy your thing, click a link, donate to a cause, or schedule a consultation so they can ultimately buy your thing. That's why you need copywriting. And a copywriter is simply a professional who writes copy. All right, I'm ready for the next slide. So you're thinking, okay, these are just words, or where else do I need copy? You need copy on every single page of your website, every single description of a product or service that you use, even like physical products, you need words on those things. When you're doing video scripts, you need professionals to support you in what to say, blogs, articles, homepages, order pages when someone's checking out, social media posts, which I'm sure you guys know all about, lead magnets, email marketing, newsletters, case studies, white pages, anything that has words and you're trying to get someone to take action, ultimately buy your thing or service, that is copy, and that's where you use copy. I'm ready for the next slide. So the thing is, you do want jewel-worthy copy that has personality, that inspires people to not just like pull out their wallet, but like throw it at you and say, please, please, please get me in here, send me this thing, right? So I'm going to quickly show you how to find out what words will do just that. I'm ready for the next slide. So how to find the right words. It's so simple. You can do this today. You can ask, you can spy, and you can stalk. So first up is how to ask. Next slide, please. If you have customers, if you have someone who you think is a great customer, could you please just ask them? So I need you to interview your past clients. Ask them what their life was like before working with you or before discovering this product, to see what words they use to describe your problem, right? And then get them to describe how they felt using the product or service. So if I'm using like the best stuff for my hair, I can say it's soft, it smells like this, it felt like this, I felt so beautiful. Those are the words I want you to take when you start to write your copy, and then ask them how they feel after, right? To see what words and language they use to describe results, all right? So like screenshot this, take some notes, because this is like peak copywriter 101s to interview people, whether you've had clients or not. Next slide, please. And spy, okay? So when you're talking to your people, ask them what platforms they use, right? And whatever platforms they use, I want you to hang out and again, see what language they use to describe their problems, their solutions, and more, right? So if you're talking to a 3-year-old and you're trying to get them to understand 30 minutes, that might be one episode of Peppa Pig, right? If you're talking to an adult, then you might say, 30 minutes. They can compute that. So depending on the audience, you have to understand their language. So if they're hanging out on IG, if they're hanging out on Pinterest, Reddit, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, forums, Amazon, definitely look at some Amazon reviews for products similar to yours or services similar to yours to see how people are really describing their problems, and pull some of those descriptions out too. And you can use that inside of your copy, your emails, your social media captions. Next slide. And then stalk, okay? I know that we're all in the business of there's no such thing as competition. And there isn't. There's one you, you're super dope, your product, there can never be too many products in one space, right? If there's a need for it, that means that people want it. So you have Burger King, McDonald's, all the people selling burgers, right? But everyone speaks to a different audience and everyone describes their burgers differently, right? So look at testimonials to see how people are describing their transformation, their experience, see what language they're using, and then look at product descriptions to see what language they're using. So you can say, maybe I want to describe my burgers as fresh because that's what the industry's doing, or maybe I want to say something completely different and be an industry disruptor. So you have to decide how you want to show up, but see what's already out there, because you can't like create and craft copy or service, a product or a business in a silo and in isolation. And I think that's it, y'all. Do I have a next slide? Oh, okay. So use what you learn to write language that your audience understands, right? So a lot of the times we are in business, we are like the subject matter experts. We're using $5,000 words. We're using like jargon. And when you ask, you spy, and you stalk, you can learn how to communicate in a way that your audience speaks already, and communicate in a way that they understand, right? They can drive action, because Gen Z use words that I may not quite understand, but I can market to them for sure, right? If they say, oh, child, I don't know what they say sometimes, so I can't even pull it out of my head, but I'm like a millennial-ish, so I know that we still say bomb, right? I still say this is like lit. Maybe the kids say that, but if I'm talking to them, then I can use that language. If I'm talking to my mother, I may not curse, right? And so those are the types of things that you want to do. So let me know if you have any questions in the comment. And thank you. And I'm going to pass it right on back if you guys don't have any questions. Or maybe we'll take them later.
No, you're good. Thank you so much. Listen, I'm gonna run through it. I'm not playing with her. So listen, we had some people like, hey, can I get these slides for later. You know what I mean? So we can make sure if you signed up via the Eventbrite, you'll have access to this because we have your email and we can directly contact you. So Rita will send me that and we can send that out to folks. But I think, one of the things that you really honed in on, and we could just talk a little bit more about, is how to use the right type of language, right? So I think sometimes when we're creating things, we're like, okay, well, how do I describe the problem? Or what makes me comfortable? Or, let me just write something just to put it out here. But what you're admonishing us to do, and this is really similar to what we talked about yesterday with Autumn when we're talking about building human-centered businesses, is know your client and know your customer, your audience intimately. So one of the things that she admonished us to do was, hey, think about their journey. Go all the way through there. And how would they describe it? How do they describe their morning, their afternoon, their problem, their issues, and utilize that content? I know for me personally, now I feel like there are more companies that are being intentional with their copyright. So the moment I sign up for a newsletter, the first thing I get is, hey girl, hey. And I'm like, okay, right? When you use the right verbiage, you feel seen as a customer. You feel heard, and you feel like, okay, I am dealing with a company or organization that knows me and they've spent enough time getting to me. So what would kind of be, and you may have kind of touched on this a little bit inside of the presentation, but what are some steps or some different strategies for people to really start doing some research around understanding the language of their customer?
Again, talk to your people, right? So naturally you're going to have to do a buyer persona, right? To say, let's just talk about hair care, right? If you're doing hair care, like what texture is their hair? How frequently do they get their hair done? Are the girls watching YouTube videos? Are they going to the salon? Like how do they maintain their hair? Do they have hours to do their hair? Do they have 15 minutes because they have a family, right? So you need to really know more about their lifestyle, but beyond demographics and lifestyle, understand their emotional state, right? What is their relationship to their hair? Do they love it and they're so happy to do it? Is it something that they hate to do? Is it something that they feel like takes so much time? And you can give that back to them. So you ask them how they feel about their hair, and they say, oh, it's my favorite part of the day. And then you can say, make your favorite part of the day better with this product. If they hate it, then it say, doesn't have to be that bad with this product, right? So you give them back what you already know about them. And then look at a competitor's, let's just say Pink Luster's moisturizer, because I be using that. If you go to Amazon and read some reviews, people will tell you their whole life story on Amazon. So get into Amazon reviews or book reviews in your industry. So if you're a baker, look up DIY Bacon, because that is your competitor, right? They may be able to do it themselves. If you're a marketer, how to market your own business is a competitor, because people have the option to DIY. Look at those books, and people typically say, I tried this and I tried that, and now I know this, and here's how it goes. So how do they describe this and that? How do they describe life before and life after? Pull some of those words out, but making sure you're looking at if they're in your demographic, right? If it's an elder and you're talking to, Gen Z, then their testimonial may not necessarily count, but just make sure you're pulling those things out and give it back to people. I also have a quiz. It's at ritaols.com/quiz. It's absolutely free, where you can get your brand personality, because the way you speak is partially who you are and who your audience is, right? So just because your audience is one way, you don't want to abandon yourself too, right? So you want to make sure you're being authentic to yourself, but you're also connecting with your people. So it's a combination of both. So if you take that quiz, you'll find out how to position any language. You may want to challenge someone, I bet you can't, right? Those are personal trainers who may say bet you can't do 3 push-ups. You're like, yes, I can. But some people may not respond to that. So it may be like, come on, baby, you can do it. It may be more nurturing. So you really have to understand who you are and who you can be and how they want to speak. I probably said a lot of nothing, but I hope that makes sense.
No, girl. Listen, you said a lot of good things. So, so one of the things I kind of want to pull out from what you were saying, I think is really interesting. And I know it's something that the audience wants to really understand, is how to speak authentically to your customer, but also not to abandon your own voice, which I think was a really great point. And so can you speak a little bit more about that? So we've done some research. I think that was a great point. I do want to make note of that. If if we could put that on the screen. Use Amazon reviews. I never thought about that. Like, go find people, because we love to talk about what we like and what we don't like on the internet, right? So, go and find some book reviews, find some Amazon reviews, and see how people are describing their issues with products or services that are similar to yours, and kind of take that into, your storehouse as you're creating your copy. So I think that was really good. But, I really want to just deep dive into, you were talking about, okay, so understanding their emotional state, creating that buyer persona. And I'm honing in on those things because some of the terminology may be new to folks, right? So we talk about, okay, a buyer persona, like, okay, what is that? I research my people. And then is this kind of creating that avatar when you say, okay, so for instance, if I'm in the travel business, right? How do I determine who my avatar is so that I know how to talk to them? How would you guide somebody on that?
Well, the first way, fortunately, we're in the business to make money, right? And all of us are going to be profitable and abundant this year. I focus on who can afford my product or who I want to serve. So it's either one. If you want to serve a demographic, then you need to know how much disposable income they have, and how quickly they can make a decision on whether they can invest. If you know that your price point is this, then you need to figure out who can afford this and how quickly they can invest, right? Like a car, people may take 3-4 months, but a trip, people might plan it for a year, right? Because it's not an immediate need. So you have to figure out, how long do I have to market to them? Are there installment plans? What are their money situation like? And then you figure out who you're serving, right? Once you figure out who you're serving, you start to figure out, do I want to work with the retirees? Do I want to work with families? Do I want to work with babies? Again, it can be a financial decision to see, maybe 2 households, people with 2 incomes may be able to afford this, or maybe you want to create an experience for younger people to whatever. So you have to figure out your values. But once you do that, and so you know who feels good to you and who can afford it, because those 2 things have to mesh. If you hate the people and they can afford it, it's not going to feel good in business. If you love this demographic but they can't afford it, you're not in business. So those 2 things have to work. And once you figure those out, give them a name. My people are Kenya's. So Kenya is not really being authentic out here online. She makes X amount of money. She went to this school. She lives in this type of city. She drives this type of car. She listens to this podcast. You need to know all those things. So when you start to run ads, you can get on this podcast. When you start to look at your audience for like Facebook ads or Instagram ads, you already know this type of stuff, right? And then you look at Nielsen reports to see what people watch, to see if they watch The Real Housewives, if they don't have TV, if they borrow somebody's Netflix. And these are conversations you can have, again, through interviewing your people. But then you look at, are they impulse buyers? If they impulse buyers, Instagram really works. If they are not, then you may need to retarget, or you may need to have a longer email series where you're sending like 20 emails over 3 months, right? When you welcome them, you need to nudge them again. You need to do those type of things. So to go back to answer your question, who can afford it and who feels good to you, and make sure those are combined and adjust as necessary. And then go beyond demographics, right? Get into their real lifestyle. What do they do on the weekends? What do they do for self-care? What do they eat, right? What grocery stores do they go to? Because when you're thinking of a buyer persona, it's a long game. It's not a short game, right? So if someone approached me to speak on a panel that's completely against what I believe and what my people stand for, I'm gonna say no, right? I don't have to go back and do that research. So these are things you need to know. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. I love it. Listen, I tell people all the time, I'm a notes girl. So I'm over here taking notes. Yes, you did. So again, I am a super clarifier. So one of the things I want to pull out, because I don't know, listen, you're dropping gems and you're giving them OG secrets. So you talked about pulling those Nielsen reports, right? For that data and those statistics. So how do people access that? So let me pause and put a pin in it. Yes. I'm creating my buyer persona, right? So give your person a name. Whatever industry you're in, determine who that person is. And I want you to create a whole story for them. Yes. How old they are, if they have kids, if they're single, what city they live in, what kind of job they have, how much they make, how much discretionary income, what they like to do on the weekends. Okay, y'all? So you hear that. So we're going to create a buyer persona, create an avatar, a person who you believe is your customer. And so now when you're writing copy, when you're creating that social media post, when you're putting that video up on YouTube, now you know exactly how to talk to, we'll use your person, you know exactly how to talk to your Kenyans, right? So you know the language that they're listening to, or the language that resonates with them. So when they hear you say something about installment plans, Kenya like, girl, thank you. Because you know I like to use Afterpay, right? You know what I mean? And so let's create an avatar. Who are you talking to? What do they like to do? So then we know how to talk to them online. When we're making content, if we're making videos, we use those buzzwords that pull them into our funnel. Okay. So that's first. But then you said, let's go a little deeper. Let's go ahead and pull some real life data, statistics, and analytics on them. So you made mention of pulling those, the Nielsen report. So how do people go about getting that? Where do they go to find it?
Ooh, okay. So there, in my house, there's a few paid options, but I know that one thing that is free is Clarita's Best Segments, Clarita, like my name, Clarita's Best Segments. You can go there and look up demographic, financial, lifestyle, and like general demographics based on zip codes. So Birmingham folks, you can put in those zip codes. You can see way too much. Like you can see how often how often someone goes to Chipotle. You can see like what languages they speak in their house. And it's just a conglomerate of data from that zip code. And so it's great for like potential partnerships. It's great for if you want to get your website translated if a certain demographic are bilingual. Like, so those are those things, and that's free. Like some of it, you know, for a marketer, it's paid, but I know that is a free option, and it is they pull their data from Nielsen's too, so you can look at that.
Okay, cool. And listen, so one thing I like to tell people too, like everybody love a free 99, but we are in the season of investing in ourselves. And so if you got to spend a little extra coin, if you got to do a little extra to make sure you can get this data so you can make more money, that's okay too, y'all, right? But yep. Okay, so is the paid version the same thing? You said Clarita Best Segments.
Yes, it is the same thing. You can test it out at first, and then you can test it out at first, and then if it's something you want to invest in, go right ahead. I do suggest that it's an investment for like marketers, and if you, it's a really robust system. But okay, need some support.
listen, Rita said, listen, don't sleep on your girl, come to me. So that's another thing, right? Because not only do we want to expose people to information, we want them to expand their network. So now y'all have Rita in your network. Her information is going across the screen along with the resource she just gave us. So like you said, that resource, I'm sure, is really extensive, but let's just take a little time on the weekend, research it a little bit. But before you jump into that, figure out your buyer persona, determine who your person is, and let's authentically speak to them. But also make sure, like you said, I thought that was great advice, not to abandon your own voice, right? Because a lot of times the problem we want to solve is for people like ourselves. So that copy and that language is going to be similar, but let's make sure that we are super customer centric. So we need to know what they do, where they're going. And then once we create that buyer persona, we know how to talk to them online, right? The buzzwords that resonate with them. And then we go a little bit deeper and we find more data and information and what they're really doing in real time.
I do want to add one more thing before I go. I do want you guys to, whatever offer or product or service that you have, I do want you to understand your audience's emotional relationship to that, right? Because people have emotional relationships to money. So I primarily work with Black women. That's not even primarily. I only work with Black women, right? And so when we're talking about hair, we have emotional relationships to our hair, right? When we talk about money, there are some demographics of Black women who have emotional relationships to money. And so there's no edge snatching when it comes to talking about things that are sensitive or things that we care deeply about, right? We have to speak in that way. We have to speak like, I know this can be hard, but you can do it, right? But if we're a personal trainer and we're talking about doing 5 push-ups, is weight a thing that might make someone cry? So we might say, baby, you can do this. I believe in you. Or are we talking to an ex-basketball player who just want to hop back in? It's like, girl, I know you can do it. Like, so you have to make sure that your emotional appeal still resonates with your people. So when you do all the demographics and you do all the lifestyle and you do all the financial stuff, do not abandon people's emotional state, because honestly, that's the part that sells. Okay, pulling out somebody's emotion, but you want to pull out the right emotion.
That's great. Thank you. That was a great drop the mic, little end in there. So all the things, the persona, understanding the real-time data, but like she's saying, is you gotta know what makes people move, what moves them, right? Which is why they would kind of set up those commercials with, the babies that need food. You like, well, of course I'm gonna give you just $1, a cup of coffee a day. I could sacrifice a cup of coffee a day, right? They pulled on our emotions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so to your point, in that buyer persona, also think about emotionally how they relate to money. I think that's a great thing, because that's the biggest thing with entrepreneurs. It's like, well, people buy this, right? But if you speak to them and if you understand their emotion to money and what makes them move, I think that, you can set your product up for success. Thank you, Rita. So she's going to still be with us. We have some more questions later on. She'll still be with us, but we're going to hop into all things e-commerce with Leslie Pierce, serial entrepreneur, and she's going to give us some high-level strategies. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey.
Some high-level strategies around some e-commerce things, because that is an amazing way to prepare ourselves to set our businesses apart, and it's a really cool revenue stream. And so I'm excited for us to hear from Leslie and all of her expertise. So Leslie, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alicia. So my name is Leslie. I am a serial entrepreneur, as Alicia stated, and I have worked on several different platforms. So I ran e-commerce brands on the Amazon platform. I've ran e-commerce brands on the Etsy platform, and I've also ran e-commerce on Shopify. So in doing that, I've acquired a wealth of knowledge. And what we're going to talk about today, we're going to get into creating an effective marketing strategy for your e-commerce brand. So we can go ahead and get into the first slide. These particular techniques that we're going to be talking about today, they're useful for those of you who own your own data, meaning you have access to emails, you have the ability to collect text message, phone numbers, and you're able to speak directly to your client. And so a lot of times you're not able to do that on Amazon or on Etsy. So that's just something that you want to think through as you continue to grow your business and as you continue to just level up your marketing strategy. So we'll go on to the next slide. And the very first thing that we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about how to increase your AOV, which is your average order value. We'll go to the next slide. So your average order value is the average dollar amount that customers spend when they place an order. So for instance, if you have an e-commerce brand and you sell t-shirts, say your one t-shirt is $10, you may have a conversion rate that allows people to check out. They may purchase 2 t-shirts each time they come to your store. So your average order value will be $20, right? So what we want to do is when people come to your site initially, we want to increase that number to maybe $40 or $50. And one really effective way to do that is to offer your customers free shipping. And with this, the free shipping threshold, you'll want to set it at a number that is going to be comparative or compared to your own AOV. So each e-commerce store has a different AOV. So you'll want to know your numbers and find out what exactly your AOV is, and you'll want to set a threshold that is comparable to that number. And you'll also, when you do this, you want to make sure that you make that change on the back end of your site, and you also want to communicate that to your customers. So one good way to just kind of communicate that is to put a stationary banner across the top of your website, so that people know that, hey, like, I'm going to be rewarded if I spend X amount of dollars, and that's going to feel really good for your customer, and it's going to increase your average order value, and it's also going to increase your conversion rate. So just keep that in mind, and we'll go ahead and go to the next slide. Another way to increase your average order value is product bundling. So product bundling is basically when you're combining similar products together. and you're offering them at a discount, or either you could bundle together complementary products and add them at as a discount as well. So a really great example of a brand that does this really well is Bath and Body Works. So if you go into Bath and Body Works, you know, there's tons of sales going on. And a lot of times, if you buy 2 candles, you'll get another candle free, right? So that's an example of bundling. And then in addition to bundling these products together, you'll receive an additional discount for buying 4 candles, right? And an example of buying complementary products is if you know, let's use the same example. If you're going into Bath and Body Works and you may buy a body wash, a lotion. If you buy this body wash and lotion, then maybe you'll get a candle for free, right? So this is an example of bundling complementary items together and then offering those items as a discount. So that's a great way to just help to just really let your inventory to kind of flow through, offer your customers something that they were probably already going to buy in the first place, and then also reward them by giving them a really great discount at the end of that. So that is, if that's something that you're not doing, and you sell, you know, some e-commerce stores are selling one variation of the same product. That's a really great way to get more people to just buy more things in that first initial transaction. And then we'll go on to the next slide. Another thing that you want to really think about when you have your e-commerce store set up is you really want to consider upselling to your customer. So an upsell is a technique used to persuade customers to purchase a more upgraded or a premium version of a product that they were already considering buying. So for instance, if you're walking to an AT&T store and you're considering purchasing an iPhone, right? And you're dead set on getting an iPhone 10. You're like, I love this iPhone 10. This is all that I need. And then your sales representative comes and they're saying, hey, I have an iPhone 13 Max, and it does the same thing as the iPhone 10, but it's faster, has a faster processor. It's lighter, right? It's thinner, it's more efficient, and offers better features. Wouldn't you like to buy this iPhone 13 Max? And you tell them, yes, give me the iPhone 13 Max. I want the latest version, right? That is an example of an upsell. An upsell, you want to think it's an upgrade to something that the customer was already going to buy. So if you do offer premium products on your store, you definitely want to make sure that you're putting this in front of the customer so that they're aware that this is available for them as a purchase option. And that, you just want to make sure that they have the option to purchase that. It's a really great way to increase your average order value at the end of the day. So just remember, upselling is the art of suggesting upgrades to a purchase that can help grow your average order value with relatively little marketing effort. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide. So some things that you want to make sure that you don't want to do when you are setting up your e-commerce store. You want to make sure that you're not using like super pushy copy or a whole lot of extra screens going everywhere. You know, you don't want to do anything that's going to come off annoying or very disruptive to the customer. You don't want to start using really disingenuous messaging and misleading language just to try to get a sale. And you don't want to be super aggressive or very intrusive, right? We don't want to disturb the customer buying journey as they're going through their decision-making process of potentially buying something from your store, right? We don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize our sale. But what we do want to do is we want to use simple pricing, right? You want to make it very easy and very simple for the customer to come to this decision that this is a better option for them. And this is something that they actually need, right? You want to use very simple language, nothing confusing, nothing that's going to have them doing different calculations in their head, right? Something very plain and easy. And you just want to make sure that overall it's just a great experience, right? Because at the end of the day, not only are we trying to like offer these different things at higher prices, but we're actually trying to find out exactly what it is the customer needs. And if it's a lot of times customers are willing to pay for convenience, right? So make sure that you put these offers someplace where it's visible and it's easy for the customer to grab onto. And another thing before I forget, you can also add, there's different apps and things that you can plug into your e-commerce store to kind of help with your upselling. There's like specific apps just for upselling. And one of the things that you can add that is beneficial is adding a time sensitive element to your on the back side, and this will help push the sales through as well. Yeah, I'm glad that's helping. And then we can go on to the next slide. Cross-selling, right? Cross-selling is another really great technique that a lot of e-commerce brands already do. You may already do it as well, but maybe you don't know that you're doing it. But cross-selling is a technique used to get the customer to spend more money by purchasing a product that is related to what's already being purchased. So if we go back to our iPhone example, if you're in the store, you said, hey, I'm going to get the iPhone 13 Max because it's 2022 and I need a new iPhone. So you get your iPhone and you're like, I need extra set of earbuds because one's always falling out of my ear and I need an extra set of headbuds. I need a waterproof case because I'm going to Cabo next week and I need a waterproof case for my jet skiing adventure, and I need an extra charging case because who don't need an extra charging case, right? These are all related items that are related to what you've already purchased, but that the customer may possibly need, right? So one element that you'll have to do is educate your consumer on why they need these things, right? These things not only are, they're more something extra, but it's something that you may need one day. It may be offer another convenience for you that you didn't even think that you needed. But now that you're seeing it in its application and you're touching it or you're seeing it online, you've now decided, well, this is great. I need this too. Let me buy this, right? So that's pretty much what cross-selling is, not to be confused with upselling. So hopefully I did a good job of explaining how that kind of works. But just remember, cross-selling is when you're selling items that are they complement the main item that the customer has purchased. We'll go ahead to the next slide. So another thing that we'll just kind of talk about just really briefly is growing your text message list. So this is, again, something that really is only good for people who, you own the marketing data that you of your store. So if you own a Shopify store, you own the marketing data, this is something that you can use. We'll go to the next slide. So basically, SMS, right, stands for short messaging service. It's about 160 characters, so not very long at all, but it doesn't include emojis, it doesn't include photos or GIFs. So in these 160 characters, you want to be able to communicate value, right, a value offer to your customer so that they feel incentivized to click on that text message, click on that link, and go through your store and make a purchase. You want to make sure that, and SMS, you can go back, SMS shouldn't be confused with MMS. So MMS is a multimedia service. So MMS would include photos and GIFs and emojis and pictures, and those are longer text messages. Those are highly effective ways to market to your customer. They're also more expensive, just a little bit more expensive, but you never know. That may be what your customer wants to receive. So you'll be able to figure that out just by doing different testing. One thing that you want to make sure that you're constantly doing is you want to make sure that you're constantly growing your text message list. So one really easy way to do that is to enable text message sign up on your desktop and on your mobile. You want to make sure that you're testing different pop-ups with different messaging, images, and just different styles. You just want to see which works best, and you also want to just follow that up with an exclusive discount for your customers. And you also want to make sure that when you're setting all this up, that there's other places online where people can find a sign up form, right? And you want to make it super, super easy for them to click that link, type in their phone number, and get that text message. So make sure that you're posting it on your Instagram, in your bio, Facebook, Pinterest, TikTok, anywhere you're on social. Make sure you post that link. So we'll go on to the next slide. Some things that you want to keep in mind when you are growing your text message list is you want to make sure that you're staying compliant with the TCPA, the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. There are really strict fines attached to non-compliance. So you just want to make sure that when you are growing your list that you're offering a double opt-in option for customers, and that you are not abusing your text message list. And you want to also make sure that you're using automations, right? So we're not, gone are the days when we send out texts manually, right? We set things on automation, and these texts are triggered based on where the customer is in their customer journey, right? And you want to make sure that you have all of your core flows set up. So browse abandonment, abandoned cart. You want to have a welcome series. You want to introduce the customer to your brand, let them know who you are, what you stand for, what you have, the value that you have to offer. You want to make sure that you're speaking to your pre-purchase customers, people who have not yet purchased but are considering buying. And then you want to make sure that you're talking to your post-purchase customers, people who have purchased and maybe considering buying something else in the future, maybe for a friend or maybe for themselves. So you want to make sure that you're doing that. You want to make sure that you're also utilizing segmentation in your text message list. You want to make sure that you are segmenting your audiences based off of, again, where they are in the flow, and personalizing those messages so that that message is communicating what they need to see at that particular time. And don't forget that you want to use email and SMS strategies together. So just, it's not going to be one or the other, right? We're going to combine that and just kind of enhance the whole experience for our customers. And you want to make sure that you're planning out monthly campaigns and your content in advance. So we'll go on to our email. Okay, we're going to, let's say, so really quickly, some things that you don't want to do, you just want to keep in mind. You don't want to text outside of waking hours. So waking hours are the times between 11 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern time. So anything, if you're sending text message campaigns outside of these hours, it's not going to send. So you just want to make sure that you're just texting them between those hours and staying compliant again. You don't want to overuse the text message functionality. You don't want to, you always want to make sure that you're offering value to your customers, and you want to make sure that everyone who is attached to your list has voluntarily chosen to be a part of the list, and you're not buying lists online somewhere. And yeah, we're not buying lists from vendors, right? We're doing everything above board. We'll go on to the next slide. And we're going to just talk really quickly about email strategy that every e-commerce brand should have. We'll go on to the next slide. You want to make sure that your email automations are flowing as well. The goal of email marketing should be to maximize your revenue and also minimize your return rates, right? You want to make sure that your email flows have matching branding. So the branding on your email flows matches the branding on your website, matches the branding on your social media, right? You just want to make sure everything is synced in. We want to make sure that you're also, same with the text message campaign, that you're creating content in advance, that you have a collection strategy for desktop and mobile, that you're offering discounted incentives, and an industry standard. If you don't have an email provider, there's tons of them out there, but one that I would recommend is OmniSend. OmniSend is a great platform to use for small, mid, or large size e-commerce brands, and it's also an industry standard. Okay, we can go on to the next slide. And last but not least, you want to make sure, so some email flows that you definitely want to make sure that you have are your pre-purchase flow, meaning people who have not yet purchased, but these are potential customers. You want to make sure that you have a really great welcome email for your customers, and it's going to introduce your brand, your core values. It should overcome any common objection that customers may potentially have, and it's also going to offer a unique discount in that email. You just want to let customers know who you are and what sets you apart. And we just want to make sure that also, same with this SMS, it's just always testing images, testing copy, and that it's really easy and quick for customers to sign up, and it's not super disruptive in their browsing process, right? Really core email flows that you definitely want to have is your abandoned cart, abandoned checkout, abandoned product, and you also want to make sure that your restock alerts are also triggered. And last but not least, you want to make sure that you're also, we're going to go on to the next slide. Last but not least, we're also going to make sure that you have your post-purchase flows turned on. These are people who may have who have purchased something from your store before, but maybe they haven't purchased in a while, right? So you want to make sure that you have anniversary flows, right? If there's a customer that maybe purchased last year, that you have their customer purchase anniversary is coming up, you want to make sure that you're sending them emails reminding them of who you are. Birthday flows are really great, collecting birthdays. Those are really great emails that customers get, and it makes them feel special at the end of the day, right? And so that's really good. And also, you want to make sure that they purchase something that is that is a main item. Make sure that if you want to offer them an upgraded version of that item, make sure that that's in there. And also, if they purchase something that's frequently brought together, right? Educate that customer on why this goes good with this item, and try to do a cross-sell with that. And then last but not least, a restock reminder. If you're selling something like supplements or something like that, and it's a 30-day supply, you want to make sure that you're reminding the person like, hey, you just bought a 30-day supply of whatever it is they bought, and it's time to re-up on your supply, right? So those are restock reminders for people who, that's something that you sell online. But pretty much that is all that I have, Alicia. I am going to send it back to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Leslie, for that. So one thing I pulled out of there, guys, is really important, understanding these email flows. And again, everything that we've talked about this week is how can we be customer centric, right? So one of the things that Leslie is really letting us know is when we're creating these email flows, think about your buyer journey, the pre-purchase, right? Their birthdays, their anniversaries. I'm going to buy from you if I feel like you know what's going on in my life. You're committed to my journey. And so thank you for that. And so we have some of those slides, just a few of them that we'll share with you all if you did register through Eventbrite. So thank you so much, Leslie. We appreciate you. She'll stick around if we have any more questions. So I want to hop in really quickly with my new friend, Jordan, over at Embassy Social, because I think it's important for us to know how to leverage content, right? Like if you're new to the content game or you're knee deep in it, sometimes it could be a little overwhelming. It's a lot to think about, but I really wanted to have this conversation with Jordan really quickly because I appreciate the problem and the solution that he was able to come up with Embassy Social along with some of his founders. So hi, Jordan, if you could tell us a little bit, tell us what Embassy Social is all about, how it was founded and why.
Yeah, here at Embassy, we are building a platform that is a start to finish paid partnership platform for brands and creators. So basically one tool where you can host all of your collaborations on social media where brands can purchase and book creator content as easily as placing an ad on Instagram or Google. And then for creators, a place where you can actually host and manage and grow your whole business because the creator economy, as you know, is booming right now. This year, there's supposed to be $16 billion spent on influencer marketing. That's just money paid to creators and influencers, right? But yet there's still no standard for how all these partnerships are done. So we are trying to build that standard and become the Airbnb of creator marketing, if you will.
That's cool. So pretty much just to break it down a little bit more, I'm an influencer online. I want to work with Old Navy, right? I want to work with Old Navy. And so pretty much what Embassy Social does is it helps me to manage that relationship. So Old Navy's like, hey, we see you. We think you're cool. And I'm like, okay, well, what do I do next? So Embassy Social comes in and helps me to manage from start to finish how I interact and how I collaborate and handle this deal with this corporation or this organization or company, which is really cool. And so I wanted to deep dive into like, what is your take on the power of content and collaboration? Because, all right, so some of us are like, we are just over social media. Algorithms are changing. It's just so much stuff, right? And so sometimes it's easy to feel like, okay, you know what, just forget this. I'm just not even going to deal with this social media thing. I'll just, keep it traditional. And there's nothing wrong with that because there's power in that too. But could you really talk to us about your take on the power of content and collaboration and how this is so needed for businesses as we're navigating this new economy and just this new era of entrepreneurship?
Yes. First of all, let me say I can feel and resonate with the burnout. Sometimes being on social media and constantly having to churn out content feels like you're on a hamster wheel, doesn't it? But content is not only effective, but it's just such a great strategy to grow and market your business because guess what? If you're producing it yourself, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything to post something on social media, to write a blog post and have it on your website, right? So that's the first thing. But the second thing is it really helps if you do it right, gain trust in your potential clients or customers, right? So the two biggest mistakes I see with a lot of small businesses or startups in their marketing is one, they try to put out content for everybody. And this really gets back into what Rita was talking about earlier, right? Knowing your target audience and speaking directly to them. So if I'm putting out content trying to appeal to anyone and everyone, I'm not going to strike a chord with anyone. It's actually going to have the inverse effect. So we like to think that by kind of niching down and talking very specifically, we're going to limit our options, but it does quite the opposite. It lets that group of people know, whoa, this company, this product is specifically for me. They get me, they know my problems, right? And that gains trust. And then slowly you can grow your audience, your market from there. So I would say that's the first thing. And the second problem I always see is we typically just don't consistently deliver value with our content. If you're feeling stuck on social media, you're not growing, you can't seem to reach new people, it's not converting into sales, so you feel like it's a waste of time. Just ask yourself this question: what value am I providing to my hopefully target audience, right? Because far too often, we as marketers and social media managers, right, half of our posts, if not all of our posts, are, hey, check out this new product, buy this new thing, come to our website, rather than trying to provide value to the people that are seeing the content. So no one's going to follow you, no one's going to engage if they're just constantly being bombarded with buy this, click here, do this, right? And this is why influencer marketing, coming from my world, is so effective, because creators and influencers are just simply sharing their lifestyle, what works for them, things they've tried, how they've gotten here, the lifestyle that they have, designed for themselves. So if we as marketers in our content are so pushy about buy this, do this, and that's all that we do, that's almost like walking straight up to someone you're interested in and asking them to marry you, right? You got to take them on a series of dates, get to know them. They've got to garner your trust, right? And some people won't even say yes on a date without getting to know you a little bit first. So play the long game with social media. Ask yourself, what value am I providing to my audience? And just know, if you are consistent in providing value, speaking to your target audience, you will grow over time. It's just a fact.
That's cool. So, okay, a few things. Listen, content helps to build trust. Somebody made a comment like, social media feels like a second part-time job. Like, I'm over it, right? But like what you're telling us is content, it helps to bridge that gap with trust. But then also, we also had another comment that said lifestyle content is something makes the biggest impact. Share your lifestyle, right? So if whatever industry you're in, share the lifestyle of that, right? So sometimes I think we have to get over like this perfectionist mentality. Like, okay, it has to be picture perfect because of the influencer culture. It's like, okay, everything has to look good. I got to have the marble background. I need to have this highlight on. But we miss the opportunity to just go ahead and build that trust with our audience, right? And so again, one key pivotal question you ask is, what value am I providing? No one wants to be sold to all day long. Like, leave me alone. Like, I'm on everybody. I think Netflix about to start putting commercials all day. We're being sold something. But again, it goes back to what Rita was saying and what Autumn said yesterday. Have you taken the time to understand your customer, what resonates with them, and just talk to me, provide value, because we're already being sold to enough. That was so key. Thank you for sharing that. So I know with Embassy Social, the goal is to really help influencers to connect with these brands, but also, most of small business owners, I think we have to realize, even if we're in a service-based business, that we have a brand. So like, how would you kind of talk to us about making sure that our companies are influencers, right? Like, how can we make sure our companies are poised to be influencers and to influence and have influence with our audience?
That's a great question, Alicia. And I think that dives a little deeper into the value conversation we were just having, right? So you as a business, whether you are selling a product or providing a service, clearly you have a solution to somebody's problem, or you are an expert, or at least much more knowledgeable about a topic than someone else is. That's why they would come to you and work with you, right? So in providing that value, if through your content, your only goal should be to help people either by entertainment or by education. So that's a good way to filter your content when you're asking the question, is this valuable? So in either thinking up new content to post, or if you're about to post something and you want that kind of last checkup, ask yourself, is this going to entertain my audience, or is this going to educate them? And if the answer is no to neither, then maybe we want to take a step back and reconsider what that's worth, right? But through your entertainment, whatever that is, that could be, making light of a problem that you recognize that they're facing, or through your education, right? Teaching them how to do something, or making them more knowledgeable about the topic you're an expert at. That audience member, that viewer of your content is going to learn that, oh, this person gets me and they want what's best for me. And you can start that relationship without ever mentioning what your product or service is.
Listen, I had to take a pause. I'm taking notes. You see my pen right here. Okay. So that was good. That's so good. So, okay. I'm the customer. I understand that the company, they get me and they want what's best for me. Okay.
Yep.
Gary is my virtual production. Gary, can you put that in so we can have it on the screen? Your audience wants to know that you get me and you want what's best for me. And so we can also, divvy that up into two buckets, like you said, is entertainment or education, right? So y'all hear us out there. I know sometimes making content is cumbersome, it's annoying, social media can be frustrating, but these are two really simple steps, right? When you think about your audience, you have your buyer persona, you understand them. Now make sure the content you're creating is, does the company get me? And do they want what's best for me? And so as you're creating, is this education or entertainment? And if you can't really name it, then we need to pull back and figure out how can we make sure that this is adding value. That's so good. Thank you, Jordan. Listen,
Thank you.
This is good. Okay. So really quickly before we wrap up, I know we talked about, okay, how to make sure that your company itself is a brand. But then in addition to that, say for instance, I am a company, I'm a small business owner and I'm making hair care products. How would you walk somebody through working with an influencer? Because like you said, there's this is a $16 billion industry. So influencer marketing is at the top of the game right now. And it's really how people are reaching their audience. So if I am working with, I have my company, how would you advise me on working with an influencer?
Yes, great question. First of all, you want to identify what influencer, shares your values and whose audience is your target market, right? So the influencer search and discovery is kind of that first step, right? And then once you nail down a few creators and influencers that you think represent that, you're going to want to, reach out and see. You can ask for like a media kit. You can basically say, hey, we're very interested in working with you. Can you tell me more information about, how you typically work with brands, right? And so us at Embassy, the platform we're building, hopefully when we're fully launched here in a few months, we can expedite this whole process for you. But in general, this is kind of how the flow goes, right? So typically they'll respond and give you a media kit or more information about, hey, when I do my partnerships, this is typically, what I might charge, bundles that work for me, posts that work best with my audience. And then you as a brand, you might need to be prepared to spend a little bit of money, but realize that this is an investment, right? The right influencer content really, really goes a long way. But oftentimes, depending on your product, you can just send them your product for free. They'll try it out themselves. A lot of times they may even post without you having to pay for it if they really like it that much. And that's the gold mine, knowing like, okay, not only does my product work, but it's got some virality to it because this person's willing to post about it without us striking up some kind of official deal.
That's good. That's good. And so we had a question about, how to discover influencers. I would say if your platform is like Instagram, for instance, use those hashtags, right? You can search hashtags, people who are doing certain things, and you'll see the wide array of people who are out there making this influencer content. And then also, search YouTube, right? If you have a particular product, look and see who's already doing reviews on YouTube. Right. Look and see on Instagram who's already kind of creating content along those lines. And so I'm just like, I'm like rushing. I do not want to wrap up because I'm like, I'm loving this conversation. But with the last couple of minutes we have, one of the things I also wanted to dive into was using tech and social media really to solve problems. Because one of the things with Embassy Social, you guys said, hey, okay, we see there's influencer, there's this creator community, right? We see that there are brands who really need to be able to work with these influencers. And then there's the business side of things that get fuzzy. So how can we take technology and software and solve that problem? So one of the things I want to say too is, hey guys, out there as small business owners, let's think about some problems. Look at your industry, whatever. And I think that it can be industry, it doesn't have to be industry specific, right? Look at your industry and think about some problem areas. Even in the industry, what would make things easier? And then solve that problem using technology. I think that what you guys are creating is so important. It's so cool. And I'm really excited for the launch of it because I think that it is solving a problem, right? Because sometimes as business owners, we have acumen in one area, but the business side might not be the best. And so I think it's important for us as business owners to look at your industry, figure out where the problems are, where the gaps are, and then you take software, you take technology, and you figure out how to solve that problem. Would I be correct in that? Because that's essentially kind of how, you all came about, right?
Absolutely. And I love how you phrase that because my opinion has always been that business, when you boil it down to its simplicity, is finding a way to get paid to solve someone's problem. It is simply nothing more than that, right? And when you take it to the tech side, so into our world, what you're doing is trying to come up with a software, technology solution to, like you said, help people do what they're doing better, faster, quicker, cheaper, or just, relieve some kind of headache from whatever that manual process is, absent from the tech. So one thing that we have really had to learn the hard way as we've been, building our product, doing our research, trying to get our company off the ground, is we clearly identified the problem, right? Influencer marketing works, but it's highly inefficient because it takes so much time to do that reach out, to negotiate these deals, to coordinate the payment method from start to finish. It either takes a lot of money for you to pay someone else to do it, or for you to hire your own team, or it just takes all your own time, right? So we're trying to solve that problem. We identified the right problem, but what we failed to do very early on is truly understand how that market works from start to finish. What are people already doing manually? Because a mistake you can easily make when trying to provide a tech solution is trying to completely change people's behavior and force them into a mold that is a piece of technology, rather than creating a piece of technology to make what they're already doing just much simpler and more streamlined. So one small example of that we've had to learn is, very early on, we wanted brands to submit requests straight to creators right off the bat without ever talking to them, which, yes, that would be a lot more efficient, but in practice, in the real market, very rarely is any brand ever going to just throw money on the table and commit to working with an influencer without learning more about them and the way they work and the types of posts that are best for their audience. So that's one pivot we've had to make along the way to better achieve that product market fit is what we call it in our industry.
Cool. I appreciate it. And that's a good drop the mic moment. So we're going to put that on the screen too, because one of the things that I love to do, and I said earlier, is make sure that we're not only, getting access to the information, but we're being exposed to new things, new terminology. So product market fit. So I want you guys to take that. I want you to Google that. And I want you to think about that as you're creating your strategy and you're thinking about how to talk to your customer. Product market fit. It's one thing to find the solution, but it's another thing on how do you present that solution. And I think that's really great. There's a good book I would like to encourage people to think about. It's called The Human Element. And it talks about when we're getting ready to sell things, like how we have to be mindful of the behavior change that we're trying to get people to get into. And that's a big thing when we talk about technology and also with marketing. So Human Element, check that out. Embassy Social. Jordan's information is at the bottom of the screen. Jordan, thank you so much. If you guys have any question about what he's doing, what they're building over there at Embassy Social, you can get in contact with him. And some of us might be using the platform pretty soon. So we are excited for you, and we're so proud of what it is that you're building and creating. And I thank you for joining us. And everybody, our time has come to an end today. Thank you for an extra 3 minutes today. It was just so good. We had to go over a little bit. So thank all of my guests. Thank you guys for being with me, Leslie, Rita, and Jordan. And I really hope that you guys were able to take something out of what we talked about today. We'll be back here tomorrow at 12 o'clock, and we're talking about how to effectively communicate what it is that you do. So we talked today about copy, how to write it, but now we're going to talk about how do you communicate? How do you say things? How do you present your business in a way that resonates with people quickly and that connects with them? So we have Rhonda Robinson. She is a former reporter, and she's going to give us all of the gems. And also we have Rashida Reese, who's going to talk to us about PR, public relations, and how to create a really, really compelling business narrative. And Rhonda's going to help us to know how to communicate that verbally. We're excited. Thank you guys. So make sure you join us back here tomorrow at 12. And then tomorrow we also have an in-person event in the evening with Dr. Nicole Garner-Scott. She's going to be talking to us about wealth building along with Isaac Cooper. So we're going to be talking about get to this money, how to build these strategies. And so this is just a week long of amazing things for National Small Business Week. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you again tomorrow at 12. Have a great day.